The iron bit of your axe is cold against your palm, the only thing grounding you as the longship groans against the North Sea. You aren't a man anymore. You are a vessel being filled with a dark, rhythmic hunger that the crashing waves cannot drown out. The shore of Northumbria is a gray line on the horizon, and you can already taste the copper of the feast to come. The wood of the gunwale bites into your ribs as you lean over the side, watching the black water churn. You were a farmer once, a man of soil and seasons, but the sea has washed that identity away. Now you are a shadow in the fog, one of 30 heartbeats thumping in unison to the pull of the oars. Your breath comes in ragged plumes, freezing before it can leave your beard. Around you, the others are silent, their eyes fixed on the approaching land with a hollow, predatory intensity that makes your skin crawl. You reach into the pouch at your belt, your fingers finding the dried, leathery caps of the Berserk sop. You don't chew them for flavor. You chew them for the divorce they provide, the severance of your mind from the soft, piteous thing you used to be. As the bitter juices coat your throat,
we're going under.
The world begins to tilt.
Steady.
The gray sky catches fire at the edges, and the sound of the oars hitting the locks transforms from wood on wood into the grinding of teeth. The pressure in your chest isn't fear anymore. It's a physical weight, an animal trying to kick its way out of your ribcage. You look at your hands, and they seem foreign, larger, trembling with a frequency that matches the vibration of the ship. The keel shrieks as it kisses the English sand, a sound that snaps the final thread of your restraint. You don't wait for the order. You don't think about the shield wall. You vault over the side into the waist-deep, freezing surf, the shock of the cold instantly replaced by a searing heat blooming behind your eyes. You are the first feet on the sand, and as you look up at the stone walls of the monastery on the cliff, the air turns thick with the scent of wet wool and impending iron. Something is screaming, and it takes you a moment to realize it is you. The world is no longer a collection of sights and sounds. It is a pulse. Your boots hit the shallow shelf of the beach, and the spray is like needles against your skin, but you don't feel the cold. The Berserk sop is a fire in your marrow now. The horizon doesn't just shimmer, it bleeds. You can see the air. It's thick, amber-hued, and vibrating with the collective roar of your brothers. Behind you, the longship is a dying memory. Ahead, the monastery of Lindisfarne sits atop the cliffs like a fat, white bird, oblivious to the wolf at its throat. You aren't running, you are being propelled. Every muscle in your legs feels overwritten by a mechanical, relentless strength. You pass a younger man, a boy really, who has tripped in the surf. Once you might have reached out a hand. Now you don't even see him as human. He is an obstacle, a stone in the path of the storm. You step on his shoulder to propel yourself forward, hearing the wet pop of a joint, but the sound is distant, unimportant. The climb up the goat path is a blur of gasping lungs and the rhythmic thud, thud, thud of your heart against your ribs. Your vision has narrowed into a tunnel of crimson light. You see a monk at the top of the path, a man in a brown habit, his face a pale moon of pure, unadulterated terror. He is holding a wooden cross as if it were a shield. You don't see a man of God. You see a flicker of movement that doesn't belong in your world. Your axe feels light, as if it's made of parchment. You don't swing it with effort. The weapon simply follows the hunger in your shoulder. The edge bites into the monk's clavicle, and the sensation is sickeningly smooth. The spray of warmth hits your face, and for a second, the world snaps into a terrifying high-definition clarity. You smell the iron in his blood. You smell the incense clinging to his robes. You smell his fear, sharp and acrid like vinegar. And then, the rage takes the wheel entirely. You find yourself inside the stone corridors of the cloister. The air here is trapped, heavy with the scent of old parchment and beeswax. It's too quiet, too soft. It offends the howling thing inside you. You start to howl back. You aren't using words anymore. The sounds coming from your throat are guttural, vibrating in your sinuses until your teeth ache. You smash through an oak door, the splinters embedding in your forearms. But you feel nothing. Inside, 3 more of the shaven-headed men are huddled beneath a heavy table. They are wailing, a high-pitched sound that grates against your nerves like a saw on bone. You reach down and flip the table with a strength that should be impossible, your fingernails tearing as they grip the wood, leaving bloody crescents behind. One of them tries to crawl away, clutching a gold-bound book to his chest. You don't want the gold, not yet. You want the silence that comes after the screaming stops. You grab him by the hair, and as you raise your axe, you notice something strange. Your hands are shaking, not with fear, but with a terrifying, ecstatic twitch. Your heart is beating so fast it feels like a single, continuous vibration. A vein in your temple is thumping so hard it's blurring your vision. You realize, with a flicker of animal clarity, that your body is burning itself alive. The mushrooms have unlocked the vault of your survival instincts and thrown away the key. You are a candle with a wick on both ends, and the light is blinding. You finish the monk, but there is no relief. The hunger only grows. You turn toward the main sanctuary, where the great cross stands, but as you move, the floor beneath you seems to liquefy. The walls begin to breathe, pulsing in and out in time with your own frantic lungs. You see a shadow move in the corner of your eye, a shape larger than a man, draped in the skin of a bear, its eyes glowing with a familiar, murderous light. You realize it's your own reflection in a polished silver plate. But before you can process the image, the doors at the far end of the hall burst open. It's not more monks. It's the housecarls, the local lord's professional guards, fully armored and locking their shields into a wall of solid iron. They aren't screaming. They are silent. They are ready. The lead guard raises a spear, the point aimed directly at your unprotected chest, and you realize that your axe is stuck, lodged deep in the stone floor from your last frenzied strike. The spear point is a needle of cold logic in a world of screaming fire. The guard's eyes are visible through the slit of his nasal helm, steady, sober, and terrifyingly patient. He isn't vibrating with a drug-induced god complex. He is leaning into his stance, waiting for you to impale yourself on his reach. You tug at your axe, but the bit is wedged deep in the abbey's mortar. The wood groans. Your muscles bunch, the skin on your back feeling like it's being pulled apart by invisible hooks, but the steel won't budge. You abandon the weapon. The you that knew how to farm, how to haggle, or how to love a wife is buried under a landslide of chemical sludge. You launch yourself forward, not as a man, but as a falling weight. The spear tip slides through the meat of your shoulder, a hot, sliding intrusion that should make you scream. Instead, you use the shaft as a guide, pulling your body along the wood to close the distance. You feel the guard's shock through the vibration of the spear. He didn't expect a man who ignores the bite of steel. You are chest to shield now. The smell of the guard is different from the monk's. He smells of old sweat, oiled leather, and the garlic he ate at dawn. You reach over the rim of his shield with your bare hands. Your fingers, slick with your own blood and the monk's life, find the edges of his helmet. You aren't looking for a clean kill. You are looking to tear the world open. You wrench his head back, your teeth bared, a thick white foam flecking your beard. The guard's throat is exposed, a pale, pulsing target. You don't use a knife. You use your teeth. The taste of salt and copper fills your mouth, and for a fleeting, horrific second, the rage rewards you with a jolt of pure, dark ecstasy. The guard falls, the shield wall falters, and the wolf spirit inside you howls at the ceiling. But the reward has a price. As you stand over the twitching body, the room begins to fracture. The gold crosses on the altar aren't just shining. They are emitting a physical heat that blisters your retinas. The rhythmic thumping of your heart has become a deafening drum that drowns out the sounds of the battle. You try to breathe, but the air feels like liquid lead. Your lungs are working, but the oxygen isn't reaching your brain. The Berserk sop is moving into its second phase, the systematic shutdown of your cooling systems. You turn to find your kin, but they are no longer men. They are distorted, hulking shapes of fur and shadow. One of them, a man you shared bread with for 3 winters, swings his sword at a phantom in the air. His eyes rolled back so far only the whites show. He is dying on his feet, his heart vibrating itself to pieces. You feel a sudden crushing weight in your legs. You collapse to your knees, not from a wound, but because your nervous system is misfiring. The floor tiles are cold, but to your skin, they feel like glowing coals. You begin to claw at your own tunic, tearing the wool away because the touch of the fabric feels like 1,000 stinging wasps. You are burning. Your internal temperature is spiking so high that the sweat turning to steam on your skin is the only thing you can see. Through the haze of white heat, you see a door at the back of the chancel. It's small, bound in iron and slightly ajar. Beyond it, you hear the sound of the sea, the only thing that might quench the fire in your blood. You crawl toward it, dragging your deadened legs, leaving a smear of red and gray on the holy stone. You reach the door and heave it open, expecting the cliffside. Instead, you find yourself staring into a small, cramped cell. There is no sea. There is only a small, high window and a man sitting in the corner, draped in black, holding a heavy iron key. He doesn't look afraid. He looks at you with a pity that cuts through the rage like a winter wind. He holds the key up, and as your vision begins to go black at the edges, you realize the door you just came through didn't have a latch on the inside. You hear the heavy thud of the bolt sliding home from the outside, and the sudden total silence of the room tells you that the rage has finally left you alone in the dark. The silence of the cell is more violent than the roar of the beach. You are slumped against the cold stone wall, and for the first time in what feels like an eternity, the world has stopped vibrating. The crimson haze is receding, but it isn't leaving you in peace. It's leaving you in a vacuum. The rage was a borrowed heat, and now that it's gone, the debt is being collected. Your body is screaming in a language you finally understand. Agony. You look down at your shoulder. The spear wound isn't a clean sting anymore. It's a gaping, pulsing mouth of raw meat and shattered bone. Without the chemical mask of the mushrooms, the pain hits you like a physical hammer. You try to gasp, but your lungs feel like they are filled with wet sand. Every time your heart beats, slowly now, sluggishly, it sends a wave of nausea through your gut that makes you heave. But there is nothing in your stomach but bile and the bitter, half-digested remains of the Berserk's sop. Your hands are a horror. The skin on your knuckles is gone, worn down to the white of the bone from punching stone and iron. Your fingernails are jagged stumps. You look at the blood coating your forearms, and you can't tell which of it is yours and which belonged to the men you tore apart. The smell of the monk's salt and the guard's garlic is still in your nose, but now it makes you want to rip your own skin off. The man in the corner, the monk with the key, hasn't moved. He watches you with eyes that have seen the end of the world. He isn't holding a weapon, yet you have never felt more defenseless. You were a wolf an hour ago. Now you are a shivering, broken animal leaking fluid onto a consecrated floor. "The fire is out," he says. His voice is soft, but it booms in the silence of the cell. Now comes the frost. He's right. The berserker's chills are setting in. This is the systemic collapse, the price of overlocking your own heart. Your muscles begin to twitch uncontrollably, not the rhythmic tremor of the high, but a violent, bone-shaking convulsion. Your teeth chatter so hard, you're afraid they'll shatter. You wrap your arms around yourself, trying to hold your soul inside your body, but you are freezing from the inside out. Your core temperature, which was high enough to boil sweat, is now plummeting. Through the small, high window, you see the flicker of orange light. The monastery is burning. Your brothers, the ones who haven't died of heart failure or been cut down in their stupor, are finishing the work. You hear a distant cheer, the sound of Viking iron clashing against a chest of silver. To them, this is a victory. To you, it's a funeral. You try to stand, to find a way to the door, to beg for the key. But your legs are no longer yours. The nerves have been fried by the chemical surge. You are paralyzed from the waist down, a hunk of dying meat anchored to a stone floor. The monk rises. He walks toward you, his sandals whispering on the stone. He reaches out, not to strike you, but to touch your forehead. His hand is cool, unnaturally cool. "You think you chose the bear," he whispers, leaning close enough that you can see the veins in his eyes. "But the bear only chose to eat you from the within. Look at your shadow, Northmen." You look at the wall, cast in the flickering light of the fires outside. The shadow isn't yours. It's too large. It has ears that are too pointed, a snout that is too long. And as you watch, the shadow begins to move independently of your broken body. It's standing up. It's turning toward you. You want to scream, but your vocal cords are shredded from the hours of howling. You open your mouth, and only a thin red mist escapes. The shadow reaches for your throat, and just as the claws touch your skin, you hear the heavy oak door of the cell begin to splinter from the outside. Someone is coming for you. But as the wood gives way, you realize the person on the other side isn't a savior. It's the man whose throat you tore out on the stairs, his face a ruin of gray flesh, holding the very spear that is currently buried in your shoulder. The spear in your shoulder is a tether to a ghost. The man in the doorway has no lower jaw. It was torn away by your own teeth on the stairs, leaving a jagged red cavern where a human face should be. He doesn't breathe. He just leaks. The light from the burning monastery catches the steel of the spear shaft, which still connects your chest, to his dead grip. He isn't supposed to be standing. You felt the life leave him. You tasted it. The monk in the corner lets out a dry, rattling laugh. "The bear takes everything," he whispers, "even the permission to die." You try to move, but your body is a locked cage. The berserker's chills have frozen your joints in a state of permanent, agonizing contraction. Your muscles are so tight, they are beginning to tear themselves away from the bone. The zombie, the Draugr you have created, takes a step forward. Because the spear is still lodged in your meat, his movement jerks your entire frame. The sound of the steel grating against your ribs is the only thing you can hear in the small cell. It sounds like a file on a rusted hinge. He pulls. You are dragged across the stone floor toward him. Your skin, sensitized by the mushroom's chemical burn, feels like it's being flayed by the friction of the floor. You want to beg, to scream, to ask the monk to use that heavy iron key to end this. But you are a Viking. You are a berserker. You are a son of Odin. The system you signed up for doesn't allow for mercy. It only allows for more cost. The dead man reaches for the spear. His gray, bloodless fingers wrap around the wood. He begins to twist. The world fractures into white sparks. The pain is so absolute it becomes a physical place, a room of pure, blinding electricity. You feel your collarbone snap under the torque of the spear. You feel the lung on your left side collapse, a wet, wheezing sound filling the space between your heartbeats. And yet, you do not die. The remnants of the sop are still holding your consciousness captive, refusing to let you slip into the blackness. It is the ultimate cruelty of the drug. It gave you the strength of a god. And now it forces you to feel the death of a man in agonizing, slow-motion detail. The monk stands over both of you now. He reaches into his robes and pulls out a small wooden bowl filled with a dark, viscous liquid. He dips a finger into it and draws a cross in the blood on your forehead. "You came for our gold," the monk says, his voice devoid of anger, "but you will leave as our gatekeeper." Outside, the sounds of the raid are changing. The triumphant roars of your brothers are turning into high, panicked shrieks. You hear the heavy, rhythmic thud of something massive moving through the monastery, something that breathes like a furnace. The shadow on the wall, the one with the pointed ears and the long snout, is no longer just a shadow. It has gained mass. It has gained fur. It has stepped off the wall and into the center of the room. The bear has arrived. It doesn't look like a natural animal. It is a nightmare of muscle and matted black hair, its eyes two burning coals of the same crimson rage that once fueled your blood. It looks down at you, the broken, shivering husk on the floor, and you realize with a jolt of soul-crushing horror that it isn't a guest. It is the vacancy you left behind. It is the part of you that didn't come back from the high. The bear leans down, its hot carrion breath washing over your face. It opens its jaws, and you see not teeth, but the faces of everyone you killed today, screaming in the back of its throat. The dead guard lets go of the spear. He falls to his knees, his task finished. The bear places a heavy, clawed paw on your chest, right over the wound. The weight is immense. You feel your rib cage begin to give way, the bones popping like dry cundling. "Wait," you try to wheeze. "Please." But the bear doesn't speak. It only eats. It leans in and bites into your shoulder, the same place the spear entered, but it isn't taking meat. You feel a cold, hollow suction, as if your very history is being vacuumed out of your marrow. Your memories of the farm, the smell of the spring earth, the sound of your wife's laughter, it's all being pulled into the bear's gullet. You are becoming a shell, a hollowed-out vessel of bone and skin. The monk turns away, walking toward the splintered door. "The feast is over," he says to the darkness. "Lock the doors. Let the fire have the rest." As the monk exits, he drops the iron key. It clatters on the stone, just inches from your hand. You try to reach for it, one last spark of the man you were fighting to survive, but your fingers won't move. You watch as the bear swallows the last of your name, its eyes turning from red to the same dull, empty gray as yours. The fire from the hallway begins to lick at the edges of the cell. The heat returns, but it isn't the ecstatic heat of the rage. It's the hungry, indifferent heat of the end. You lie there, pinned beneath the weight of your own unleashed monster, as the roof begins to groan. You realize the final irony. You fought to be remembered as a legend, a terror of the North. But as the smoke fills your remaining lung and the bear begins to merge back into your skin, you understand that no one will ever know you were here. To your brothers, you are a ghost who vanished in the smoke. To the monks, you are just another demon consumed by his own fire. The weight on your chest becomes total. The bear disappears. The dead guard disappears. There is only the flame, the cold stone, and the realization that you paid the ultimate price for a power you couldn't keep. The ceiling collapses. The iron key melts into the floor.